So don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's July already and it's the first Saturday in a new month, which means that it's time for a brand new art challenge over on our Mission Inspiration Facebook group. So I'll turn over to my overhead camera and show you the prompts for the month, and then I'll talk you through what I'm going to create, or hopefully going to create. Okay, so this is the prompt sheet for the month of July. So as you can see, the theme is carnival or circus. So feathers, sequins, music and dance, or lions, clowns and acrobats. And we've got some nice vibrant bright colours for the month. We've got lemon, poppy and cobalt blue. And our ingredients are numbers, triangles, music, something white and a stamp. But I'm not stipulating which or what type of stamp that is. That could be a postage stamp, or it could be a rubber stamp or a polymer stamp of some description. So that's what we've got for the month of July. So this is my art journal. I've got my page ready. So I've just pinned it open because it has a tendency to spring open while I get started. So carnival or circus. So I think I'm going to go with the circus theme, mainly because I'm not really into sequins and feathers. So what I've got is I've gone through my image collection and I've got an elephant, I've got a clown. So that should do for kind of focal images. So for the background, I'm going to do some stenciling, but what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to bring out my Carnival 1 and Carnival 2 stencils and create a nice background in those colours using those two stencils. So I'll just grab those and then I'll be right back. Right, so these are my two Carnival stencils. This one is Carnival number 1, which has got those diamonds and the little baubles between. So you can do it either way, backwards or forwards. And this one is Carnival number 2. And yes, I know they're disgusting, they're covered in paint. It just goes to show that they're well loved and well used. So so Carnival number 1 and Carnival number 2. So let me just bring in my art journal again. So this art journal is only 18 centimetres. I'm not really sure what that is in inches. It's probably about 7 inches, I think. Have I got a ruler with inches on? I do have a ruler with inches on. Yeah, it's a 7-inch journal. So it's a 7-inch square. About 18 centimetres or 180 millimetres. Now obviously these stencils are smaller. These are only 6-inch stencils. So they will work fairly well if you want to do smaller areas in a journal, or as a focal point. You can always move it around, can't you? You don't really have to keep it stationary. So colour wise, we've got lemon, poppy and cobalt. So I've had a quick look through in my Dina Wakley collection, and strangely enough we've got lemon, we've got ruby, but there's no kind of like cobalty blue, apart from lapis, and that's a bit too dark. And then we've got sky, which I think is a little bit too light. So I've dipped into my Americana paint range and I've pulled out True Red and True Blue. And I'm not going to burst into song, obviously. True Blue. I'm tempted, but I won't. Come on, focus. There we go. Thank you very much. So that's more of the right sort of colour that I've got on my sheet. So I think we're going to go with that. And the red, well, there's not much in it. The Dina Wakley one's a little bit darker, but since we're going for brighter colours, then I'm going to go with the Americana, the Deco Art Americana one. So we're going to use the True Red, the True Blue, and I will use the lemon from Dina Wakley, mainly because I don't think I've got a lemon yellow colour in my, maybe, what's that one? Bright yellow. Well, I suppose. There you go then. We may as well stick with all the same brand. I'd forgotten I had that one. Whoops. So those would be the ones from Dina Wakley. But I mean, these are kind of primaries anyway, so you know, you should really have some kind of bright colours in your paint collections if obviously you've got paint in your collections. Anyway, I'm waffling now, aren't I? So what do I need now? Paintbrushes and some water. Okay, I will be right back. And just as I was saying about getting some paintbrush and water, that was Dad giving me a ring. I don't know, it's having problems with eBay, but never mind, it's sorted now. Right, okay, so I've got some water. I've just got some spritz water this time. I'm not going to get a paint pot because I'm going to be using the red and the yellow together, but on the background I'm going to use some white gesso. So this is the indigo blue Gesso Good. Just give it a shake up, and then I'm just going to take some of that white gesso and go all over the page. You don't really need to put the gesso on when you're doing a painted background like this. If you intend to move paint all over, then it's a good idea. But if you have paints that are slightly translucent, as in the opposite of opaque, opaque is when they cover completely. Translucent is when they're a little bit see-through. And yellow paints tend to be more translucent than they are opaque. So if you're going to be using a yellow paint on a background, it's possibly a good idea just to give it a ground underneath. But that's only if your paints are translucent. You don't necessarily need it all the time. You don't really need gesso all the time. When I first started art journaling, you know, and I was watching people creating art journal pages and they were religiously gessoing the pages first, I always thought to myself, you know, you had to gesso. You know, the world would come to an end if you didn't. And obviously the world doesn't come to an end if you don't gesso. Right, I need to get a paint mat first of all, so I've got a new one because I'd rubbed a hole in my last one and I'm hoping that's not affected the colour. So I've got this paint mat and I'm just going to take the yellow, and yes, I haven't dried it, and no, I haven't washed the brush because I'm not creating, I don't want like a pristine kind of background. So if there's a little bit of the gesso that mixes, well, that's fine. That's fine. So I'm just going to paint over, and it's going to give me a kind of motley look, which is, you know, that's okay. I don't want a flat background. And of course, adding that gesso as well does help the paint to move. But because we've got the gesso, we can manoeuvre the paint a bit easier on the page. I'm having difficulty holding on to it now. I should really hold it by the clip, shouldn't I? So if I brush that down like so, you see, the harder I brush now, the lighter that area will get, because it's removing the top surface of the yellow to reveal a little bit of that gesso underneath. So that's how you kind of get a nice motley background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mix a little bit of the red, and yes, I'm aware that red mixing with yellow is going to go orange, but that's fine. We'll go more red than we will yellow. And then what I want to do is I just want to just go around the edges, just kind of giving it just a little bit of a border More of that red. That's it. Now, if I just work some of that paint off and then just brush in with my dry brush, because the paint is still a little bit wet, because we've still got a little bit of that gesso on the underneath and we didn't dry it, we can just blend it a little bit, just kind of diffuse that background. That's fine. Okay, I will dry that off now, but I'm going to leave that paint there. So the background now dry, it still feels just a little bit damp, but the paint's not coming off my hand, so that's fine. So what I want to do now is I just want to just bring that sheet back in again, and this time we're going to look at the stamp. I'm going to use a rubber stamp. Now I've got this stamp from Indigo Blue, from a set called the Draftsman. Now I would show you the front sheet of it, but I can't find it. But I do know what set this is from. But what I want to do is I want to add some blue markings in the background. So I'm just going to lightly just ink up the stamp, and I'm using Blue Hawaii from Stays On. And I'm just going to lightly stamp onto the page. Now it's not one of these real kind of deep blues that will look black, because some of them do. They're so dark that even when you stamp with them, they look whatever colour it says on the tin, if you like. They're just too dark and they just look black. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of stamping. That'll do. Actually, just put a little bit in the middle. I'm going to cover all this up, so it's not imperative that it's a perfect, you know, and it looks perfect, but that'll do. That's just how I want it, kind of diffused and motley in the background. So I'm just going to give this a quick blast over with the heat gun just to dry the ink. Now the Stays On obviously is solvent based, it's oil based I think, or solvent based, not necessarily oil based, but anyway, it's permanent when dry, which is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that's dry enough to work on now. So I'm going to use the Carnival 1 stencil. I've got some craft sponge, so I'm going to pick up some of that red that we'd kind of left. It's another warm day today and I've got the windows open and I'm being plagued with flies, which is a nightmare. Okay, so we're going to just go across the page with that stencil, and again this red is going to be a little bit translucent, which basically means that even though we're putting red paint down, that stamping that I did earlier is going to show through. It's not going to be completely covered. So I'll just go down that side, a bit more at this side up here. And then darken up those edges a tad. Okay, so lift that one off. And of course, triangles is also one of the things on the list of ingredients. I know diamonds aren't strictly triangles, but they're two triangles together, so we can justify it as much as we want. I'll add some more of that red paint on there. I know it was a tenuous link, but I'm just going to get a little bit more of the red paint. Not a huge amount. Just load up the sponge first before going in. There we go, that's better. I'm just going towards the middle, but not all the way towards the middle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of that yellow and just mix that in. It's started to dry anyway, so right, and then we're just going to fade away towards that side and fade it away towards the top. That's it. Okay, and I got some on my fingers. Yeah. So let's just grab a little wet wipe. Just gently dab away. There we go. That's lifted off nicely. Okay, now I can have a tidy up and a clean up, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so that first lot of stenciling is dry. So now I'm going to do the second set of stenciling, and I'm going to use the blue paint. Now, blue, when added over yellow, is going to make a different colour. And that's not what we want. So if I put this blue directly over the yellow, if it's translucent, it's going to make green. And I'm trying not to get green. So what I want to do is I'm going to add some white to it, which is going to lighten it a bit, but also it's going to make it a bit more opaque. So if you've got a translucent paint, add it to a little bit of gesso, which is opaque, and that should make it less translucent, if you know what I mean. I know we're starting with a darker colour. I'm going to end up with a lighter colour once you've added the white, but unfortunately it's a trade-off. Let's add a little bit more blue to it. You see, if I had have used that Dina Wakley lapis, which was darker, which is what I said at the beginning, it probably would have made the right colour once I'd added it to the white. So, my own fault, obviously. Okay, so we've got that blue. So I want another piece of craft sponge, and let's get that loaded up. And I can literally use it to wipe it up, and then in those sections where we haven't got the red, and let's be careful because I've got it on my fingers now, we can start going in and adding some of that blue over the top as another layer. And with any luck, if my painting chemistry has worked, it'll stay blue and won't go green. So I'm just going to move the stencil across and then start adding it over this side. A little bit heavier over there, that will do, and lighter in the middle. Just like that. Right, I'm happy with that. And I'm going to cut my losses quickly. Okay, so just added some water to that, and I'm just going to quickly just mop it up. And I know usually when you add water to paint, all that you create is more paint. But in this instance, it just makes it quicker and easier to clean up. There you go, just like that. And then grab a wet wipe, because I don't have time at the moment just to nip and wash the brush out. I'm just going to grab a wet wipe and I'm just going to wrap it in that wet wipe. Now that will keep it moist and it won't dry for a good couple of hours, so I've got time to finish this without having to quickly stop filming and then run into the bathroom to wash the paint brush out. There we go. So I can put that to one side now. Okay, so we'll just quickly give this a blast with the heat gun and then I'll be right back. Okay, so while that's all been drying, I have actually cut my two little focal images out, my little clown boy and the elephant. I'll just insert those clips there so you can see I did do them by hand. I did a fussy cut rather than I used a pair of scissors rather than a craft knife. But okay, so the next thing is, looking at this, we've got music. Now I thought I'll just use some washi tape with music on. So I've had a look in my collection of washi tapes and I haven't got a single one that's got music on. Out of all of the washi tapes I've got, you would have thought that one with having music on, you know, but not one single one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own just by grabbing an old sheet of music paper, and I'm going to cut a strip just using a knife. There we go. And that can get put back in my collection. So we've now got two lots of that. So we've got two lots of musical kind of washi. I did find one that has numbers on it, so numbers and music, triangles-ish with those. We've used the stamp, so the only thing we're missing is something white. Haha. Once we've got this done. Right, so I've got some wide washi tape. So what I'm going to do... Oh, I've also got this, by the way. Which, strangely enough, was lurking in a drawer. While I was going through and looking for ephemera bits, that was with it. It was on another sheet with something else, but I thought that's just the perfect colours. It couldn't have been any better. I must have used this for something else. So, so that's got the numbers on as well. But I have also got some number washi tape, so we're going to combine that with these onto the art journal page. But I just wanted to go around the edges just to grunge that up a little bit. And I'm trying to find my distress ink foam. There it is. So just to get rid of those raw white edges. I'm only going to go lightly because it's only thin paper. Normally, if I'm going to use stuff, I like to use it on a bit thicker card, but this and these bits of ephemera are all on paper, which is a bit flimsy. It's not what I normally like to do, but I did say I found them, they were already printed out. So I must have intended to use them for something else a while ago, but just never got around to it. Right, so what I want to do is I'm going to try and create a little bit of a cluster. So I'm going to put that up there. So we'll get some washi tape. Now, obviously I've got to try and find the end. There it is. Just look for one of the bits where the numbers aren't aligned. So I've got that. I'm going to pull just two of the number strips, or two pieces of the number strips. I'll just fold the end of that over so it makes it easy to find next time. And then I'm going to get some of the music, and again just add a bit of distress on there, just to kind of grunge it up a little bit. Probably only going to need one piece of this. Yeah, probably only going to need one piece. So let's just tear that like that, And then we'll have a second piece, a bit smaller, there we go. Alright, alrighty then. And then I've got a glue stick. Hey, I've got a glue stick and I intend to use it. So let's just move those out of the way. Stick this down first. Purple glue. Yeah. Alright, so this is the stuff that goes clear when it dries. So we're okay. So I'll put that about there. The first piece of the cluster. Like that. And then we'll add that bit about there. Is that about right? Yeah, that'll do. And then we'll get the washi tape, put that over the top, so we've got numbers, and then I'm going to put that so it comes out just there, and then not sure whether I like this glue at all. Just move that over. At least there's a bit of wiggle room with it. Aha. Okay, so we've got that. So let's do the helifilant. Now the reason I didn't go back and reprint any of these images, that was the clip just flying off then, is because I know that I'm going to be going over the crease on the page, so I want it to be fairly thin. There we go. So we'll put the elephant there. And then just smooth that down. And where's our young lad? He's going to be resting on the back of the elephant. There we go. Because purple disappears really quickly on this stuff. Okay, so numbers, triangles, music, something white. Haven't really done that bit yet, have we? So stamp, lemon, poppy, cobalt. We've got those three blue colours in there. Okay, so we've got to do some white, haven't we? So I've added white in the background. Let's just shift that cutting mat out of the way. So the reason I've got a new one of these, by the way, this Teflon coated non-stick mat, is that a while ago I got, it was either me or Ian, got some matte medium on my old one, and we used a ruler to scrape it off, and it scraped a hole all the way through it, which isn't ideal, so I've had to replace it. So Just reaching for my fan brush. So I'll get some white gesso. Touch of water. And we'll add some splatters. So I'll just keep his face covered. And that, I think, maybe we'll go in and add a little bit of shade in. So I'll get this cleared up, because obviously I've got white paint everywhere now. I'll get this page dried off and then I'll be back. Okay, so the something white splatters are now dry, but I'm just going to add a little bit more detail with a white jelly roll pen. Mainly, I'm just going to add some little details just on his pom-poms, if you'll pardon the expression. Just give him a bit more of a catch light on the eyes, just to kind of make them alive a bit more. And then up on there, just to kind of make it look a bit more 3D a little bit. Just a little bit of detailing, really. Just a tiny bit. It doesn't need a huge amount, does it? It kind of disappears amongst all of the white splatters, but hey ho. Okay, so now I'm going to just put some, this is a Stabilo oil pencil, so water soluble. That's water, ooh, a bit too much there. I'll just activate a little bit of that so it turns it into kind of black watercolour. Now this will dye back a lot. I'm just going to add a little bit just underneath the feet, just as a kind of grounding, bit of shadow. The more water you add to this, the more it diffuses. And the more it disappears off into the background. So you can afford to be quite generous, and then you can come back in with the water later, if you like. And then just diffuse it a little bit more, but it will kind of die away as it dries. That just creates a little bit of grounding down there at the bottom. But what I want to do is just add maybe a little bit more up here. Just helps just to age it. Just dirty it up a bit. It's almost like a drop shadow. Just kind of creates that effect. Well, I think so anyway. Okay, because it's only water, it's quickly and easily wiped up. And then I think what I'll do is I'll just add just a little scribbly border, just to kind of finish the whole thing off. It's surprising how just adding something like this just helps just to finish it all. There we go. And I think that's going to be it. So I'm going to sign it. And I'm going to put today's date, which is the 3rd of the 7th, 21. So there you go. So let's have a look at the prompts for July and see. So we've definitely got all 3 of those colours. We've definitely got numbers in there. We've got triangles-ish, maybe half a point then. Music, yeah, something white. We've got the splatters. And we used a stamp. So there you go. I think that's mission accomplished. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create that art journal page from the prompts from our Mission Inspiration Facebook group. Don't forget, that's the URL on the screen there, but there's a clickable link to our Facebook group in the description area below this video. So it is free to join. It's a closed group though, or private group, so you just have to click to request to join, and then somebody will approve your request once you've answered the questions, just to prove you're a real person and not a robot. That's it. And then you can join there's 4,000 plus people in that group now, all sharing tips, chatting. It's a very safe and open space. And it's a very vibrant community in there as well. So there's the 2 main challenges each month. There's the main Mission Inspiration, and then there's a mid-month mini Mission Inspiration halfway through, a fortnight later. So there you go. Why not join us in readiness for either July's mid-month mini or the start of our August's main mission at the beginning of August. So that's it from me for now. I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.